Hey, what's up, everybody? BDL44 coming at you with another video. All right, so I know there's a playoff game going on right now, the Clippers and the Suns. I was trying to watch it, but I just can't care about any of these teams, bro. I don't care about the Suns and the Clippers. I don't care about them. My Lakers just punched the Memphis Grizzlies in the mouth. Rui Hachimura scored the most points off the bench in Laker franchise history. I think that's what they said for a playoff game. I think 28 or 29 points, I believe, is what he had, is the record. 26 was the most since Magic did it back in like whatever the heck year when he was almost retired. This, my friends, is a fantastic win for the LA Lakers. Austin Reeves, I'm him. Yes, he is him for sure. I've been telling people he's him since he was drafted. Austin Reeves is that dude. And now the world gets to finally see what it is that I've been screaming into this camera for 2 years. That Austin Reeves is a winner. He's going to help us get a championship someday. Hopefully that day is very soon. But we got a roster as good as any roster the Lakers have had in a long time, man. Honestly, this is one of the best Laker rosters I've had to the pleasure of watching, man. Since Rob Pelinka made this incredible trade deal, or 2 or 3 trades, whatever it was, he put together a team that I think is as talented as any Laker team I've seen, man. Like, honestly, in terms of pure talent, it is. It's from top to bottom. It's as deep as any team we've ever had. So I think the first order of business is to keep it together. That's the first order of business, is to make sure that we stay healthy, make sure we have a strong playoff run here. Hopefully we can maximize our opportunity and be glorious. But even if we fall short, this is definitely the type of team you bring back next year. You do this again. And you add that 17th overall pick in the draft, which should make this team that much better. Can you believe we're actually going to get a nice rookie in this draft to add to this future? That asset class is going to be strong. I don't think I want to trade it. It's too early to really talk about that. There's a lot of different things that could play into that. Certainly, if a big star wants to make a move, you can obviously see the 17th overall pick being something that's valuable to the Lakers to try to make moves. So it's not as simple as saying I don't want to trade the pick and never trade it. But I definitely like the idea of adding 17 to our situation and making that player somebody that we keep in rotation for years to come. Because our scouts have been fantastic. And I want to see them have a pick this high to work with, or maybe even higher if we can trade up. I don't know how possible that would be. Maybe I'm getting a little too greedy, but I want to see what our scouts can do. The better the pick, the better they'll do, I think. So that's the only reason why I said that. But nevertheless, I love where we're at, 17 and 47, I believe it is. And that is the status of our assets for this upcoming summer. But, right now, this was the best game the Lakers had played in terms of offense I think I've seen all year, man. And closing the team out, showing killer instinct, by far the best game we've had in that vein, for sure. And it just simply comes from us doing things that we should do. Empowering Rui Hachimura. I've been saying that for the last month. Put this dude in positions to shoot these type of shots, because he's that type of offensive talent. A lot of times we were having him run freelancing and stuff like that, and he was still managing to play well. And my only concern about him was defensive. And when he started answering the defensive questions, I'm like, oh man, please, this is one of the best players on our team. This is one of the best players on our team. The only thing that was keeping me from even wanting to play him was some of these things that he's shored up since. So now I'm just ready to throw him to the starting lineup. I love Vanderbilt, and what he brings to the table. But Rui Hachimura just broke a bench record. I don't think I need him coming off the bench anymore. I really don't. And Vanderbilt can still do what he does from the bench, because he's not giving us much production anyway. He's just going out defending the best player and shutting him down and just doing all kinds of freelance stuff anyway. So Rui's more of a centered piece. And I think empowering him isn't the worst idea. You don't want to mess with continuity. You don't want to mess with the starting lineup. I understand why you wouldn't. You know what I mean? I can see the fruit in definitely not doing anything funny with the starting lineup. But I truly believe a player like this should be rewarded when they play this well and under normal circumstances. But increasing his minutes is obviously a benefit to us if we don't want to start him. I certainly can see the fruit in both. Either way, I'd be happy. So long as we make sense of what we're doing either way. The Malik Beasley experiment has failed. Everybody, we know that. I'm saying this because I'm looking at other fans starting to kind of say that. You know, I'm not the only person up here screaming, please bench him for the betterment of our overall roster. It is just necessary, man. I don't think there's anything left to say. The only thing that's keeping us from being our best selves is having that piece come on the floor and shut down the momentum that we have. So I think the Lakers are finally in a position to kind of see the fruit in getting rid of certain things that doesn't work, and hopefully that will prompt the Lakers to make the change there, man. Just make the change. It's okay to do so. I promise it's going to be fine if we just bench that player and use Lonnie Walker and Max Christie. I promise you, you will really see how good the Lakers are when he does that. When he does that, then you're going to start understanding how ridiculously devastating defensively we actually are when you start using Max Christie properly in some of these lineups. When you start putting him and Bamba, particularly the length that Bamba and Christie provide us, is a whole nother devastation for teams to deal with. And Darvin doesn't believe in it, but I do. And I'm telling you, devastation defensively. Mo Bamba, Anthony Davis, Max Christie, Vanderbilt, and anybody else, anyone else, Austin Reeves, LeBron James, anyone else, that lineup is going to devastate people. You can even put Troy Brown in that lineup. It's going to devastate people because defensively, they ain't going to be able to move. They're not going to be able to go nowhere. I'm telling you, that is a stifling defense. One of the best defensive lineups we could put together. And I don't think we even try, man. We've never seen that lineup. And I promise you, in my mind's eye, teams ain't scoring 5 possessions in a quarter on that lineup, bro. Keep them on the floor. Yeah, they ain't scoring on them dudes. So I just want to put that out there once again. Mo Bamba, Vanderbilt, AD, somebody else, maybe Troy Brown, Austin Reeves, Bron, whoever you want to put in that lineup. And, of course, it was somebody else, Rui Hachimura. We got so much depth, man. There's nothing we can't do if we really want to. If we want to go small, we can go small. If we want to go defensive small, we can go defensive small. If you want to go big, we can go big. If you want to go defensive big, we can go defensive big. There's no combination out there that I could think of that's left in these playoffs that we shouldn't be able to stifle if we're all healthy and all playing well. And if we happen to sustain an injury or two, we should be able to sustain that with the depth that we have. And my friends, that is exactly what you want. That's the type of team you want to go into a playoffs against a field that is kind of weak this year in the Western Conference and against the Eastern Conference that, you know, is pretty top heavy and is going to end up getting beat up a lot as they go through these playoffs. You see, Giannis is dealing with the back. He missed most of this game in Miami 1. Freaking Tyler Hero broke his hand in this game, broke 2 fingers, so he's out for 4 to 6 weeks, which definitely means they're playoffs because the Heat. Y'all know I don't believe in the Heat, but they're finding ways to win games. So I got to give them credit as a collective unit. They dropped 130 points on a Giannis-less Bucks team that I honestly don't think is very good without Giannis at all, which could shake up the Eastern Conference entirely if for some reason he misses more games than would be allowed for him to win the series. If he for some reason is a no-go and the Bucks do fall, boy, is the East wide open. Boy, is the East wide open. Because I'm telling you right now, the Boston Celtics, I'm not overly enthused with the Boston Celtics. I think they can win the East. You would think they would run through the East if something like that were to happen. But I'm a believer in Joel Embiid. And, of course, you guys know I'm a believer in the Knicks' depth. So that right there tells me that if they have to run into those 2 teams, one of those 2 teams is going to knock them off. That's what I think is going to happen. If the Celtics can avoid having to hit both of those teams back-to-back in the Eastern Conference, that's good. But if they have to run into Joel and run into the Knicks, I'm telling y'all, that's going to be enough for the Celtics to get knocked off. That's going to be enough for the Celtics to get knocked off. So, in my humble opinion, the East is kind of open, man. The East is kind of open. I'm not certain which of those 3 teams I'm certain is going to come out of the East if Milwaukee doesn't make it happen. But that's kind of how I look at the Eastern Conference. And so I'm not afraid of none of those teams, man. As a Laker fan, if we were to get all the way to that point, I don't expect to lose that series to any of those teams, especially the damn Celtics. We ain't losing no damn Celtics in the finals in 2023. I'm telling y'all right now, we beat them. So that's one of those situations where it's like, all right, we just got to stay healthy, man. We can't get ahead of ourselves after winning one game in the playoffs. Even though we looked really good in this first game, you know, I've been fortunate enough to watch so much of this over the years to where I've seen it all twice, as I like to often tell you guys. And because I've seen it all twice, I know better than to get excited about any form of win in a game one situation. If you win game one by 70 points, you should still be chilling because you still got 3 games to win. It's that kind of thing. Like, you don't really know what a series is going to bring you. And I've seen teams get blown out and then still win the series, man. That's not even really abnormal, to be honest with you. Championship teams have lost games in the finals by more than 30 points and have still come back to win the series. So we can't get excited about no kind of one win, nothing. We just got to appreciate our team playing well and then carry forward that same momentum into the next game. Because I'm telling you, anything else is fool's gold. Anything else is celebrating too fast. Anything else is going to get your heart broken. You just got to play all the way through the buzzer and then wait until it says 4-0-U or 4-3-U or whatever until it says 4 wins, you ain't got no business celebrating. So that's really what it is. We can pat ourselves on the back for great play, but I think we celebrated a little too much. You know what I mean? It's just like I said in the first game of the season, the very first game of the season when we finally got our first victory, rather. I was scolding our team for being so happy that they got the first win. I thought we were a little too happy. And then we proceeded to have a 500 season, basically barely make the playoffs. And that's the point. It's like, we want to temper our expectations because there's so much work to do to meet our goals. Now, granted, we've met our goals as it pertains to meeting the playoffs, but we have higher goals now that we've gotten here. So, the way that we were able to overcome a 3-10 deficit was recalibrating what needed to be done and not getting too high or too low about anything. When we went down 10, when we were down 3-10, the record being 3-10, we understood what it took to get back in it. And that was focus, determination, obviously strong play, some luck with injuries. But more than anything, just not allowing ourselves to become overzealous about any one situation as it comes our way. So we were fortunate enough to come out of this out the gate with a win here in emphatic fashion. But I think we should have the mindset of being even kill and think of this game no different than any other situation. If you would have lost this game, you need to come in to game 2 with a certain level of intensity, I would think. So I don't think we should come into game 2 with anything less than that intensity. Simply put, even if you lost, you should still be looking at this Memphis Grizzlies team the same way. Because the reality is they got a bunch of capable players. The next game is still in their building. And they're proud. They've won a lot of games this year. This is the hardest place to win in the league this year. And that's another thing that makes this game very impressive. That teams just don't flat out win very much when the floor is powder blue. So for us to go in there, knock them around like we did, granted, they can always cry that Ja wasn't there. Steven Adams wasn't there. Brandon Clark wasn't there. Conversation, and that's valid. But at the end of the day, even if those guys were there, I honestly don't know if they would have been able to stop the onslaught of what was going on, especially the way they were guarding Rui Hachimura around the perimeter. Leaving him open and having him hit 4 of them, that's going to get you beat. And that's something they would have did even if those guys were on the floor. So, yeah, that's partially what I think is the problem for Memphis right now, just kind of looking at things from from their perspective. I think if they're going to make any one adjustment, they're going to have to not leave open the people they decided they wanted to leave open today. And that's exactly what I think the adjustment will be. Rui Hachimura is going to get double teams. He's going to get their best defender. He's not going to be able to have the looks that he had tonight, probably for the rest of the series. They're on notice about him. So that means we need to be on notice about other things that don't involve him scoring 30 points for us to get a nice win. Sometimes in the playoffs, you just got to anticipate someone taking something away from you, especially if it worked really, really well. So that's just really what it comes down to. Austin Reeves should expect to have defenses thrown at him in a different way. Bron should expect they're going to be more physical with him. different things like that. And of course, Austin and Rui, with them being the focal point of the second half of this game, I think a focal point for the Memphis Grizzlies will be to come out of the second half locker room with a certain level of intensity that they didn't have in this game, which is why they got punched in the mouth with 37 points in this third quarter today. So these are different things that I want to kind of keep in mind, because this playoff time, you know what I mean? You want to almost get into the mind of the other team and anticipate what they're going to do to you based on what worked for you. And if it happens to not be an adjustment they make, so be it. But you want to be ready to counter the adjustment that you expect is coming. So to anticipate adjustments is a big part of what champions do. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do. If I were a better basketball mind, I'd give you much more pointers, but you really do got to kind of strengthen the mentality around anticipating that and knowing what's coming. So Rui went off, Austin went off, Braun went off, AD went off, and D'Angelo made a good second half out of a very tough first overall playoff game with the Lakers. So I think with D'Lo, I want to reiterate something. I don't want to make excuses or lay it on too thick in regards to what he's dealing with. And I think I may already be doing that. But talking about his injuries and talking that he's, giving him credit, first of all, for playing through his calluses. And it ain't something that they've really put too much out there. It's just something that I have in my mind. You know what I'm saying? So I talk about it more so than the rest of the Laker Nation is. But I want us to be mindful of keeping our expectations down for D'Lo as it pertains to what he has to do while those feet are hurting, and whatever capacity of pain he's playing through is something that we're just going to have to help him with by keeping more guards on the floor and not overusing him this season in these playoffs. I don't know if they can get better, but I'd imagine based on the information that we've been given that it's something that's just kind of, not really worked out for him in terms of what they're trying to do to treat it. So kudos again to him for playing through it. But when he goes cold, it's never a bad idea to get away from him because he's in pain 9 out of 10 times, just like AD, just like Braun. So, I don't think it's the right thing to do to just snatch players off the floor anytime they miss 2 and 3 shots. You know what I mean? That's not necessarily the way to go with everybody. You want to get a guy back in rhythm. And so I like how we played D'Lo tonight. And I kind of wish we would be able to do that with Beasley as well. But Beasley's such a defensive liability that it's kind of difficult to play him long enough to get him in rhythm. I know that messes with his confidence, but he has to just trust us as it pertains to we've already seen what you can do when you're at your best. That's what I would tell Malik Beasley. Like, you've already proven yourself to be the type of weapon that I want on my team. Now you got to trust me to utilize you when I need to. Because if I use you the wrong way, we're going to lose together. You know what I mean? And that's the conversation the coach has to have with Malik. It's like, buddy, we could play you as much as we have been playing you, and then it's going to be your fault that we lose, and everybody's going to look at you a certain way, and that's just not the way it needs to be. But I can tell you that I know at any given moment you could string off 8 threes and light a game on fire. You can win a game for us easy. You've done it twice. So with that being said, let's get away from you. And let's try to figure out better ways of utilizing the size that we have for the rest of our roster so that we can win these damn games. So we can put a ring on your finger. So that's really what it come down to. If I'm Malik Beasley, I'm on board with that. Because I ain't insecure about what I can do. I done already won 2 games for y'all. Y'all know I can score 38 points from behind the arc if I'm hot. And you also know that if we leave me on the floor too long, the size and then all that other stuff is just going to go by the wayside. And it makes for a difficult situation. We see it on the film every night. It ain't nothing at all to make the sacrifice to be a winner. You know what I mean? And that's what I would expect Braun to do, AD to do, Austin to do, or anybody else if they found themselves as a liability on this team. That's not something I would just tell Malik Beasley to handle. Nah, bro, I'm going to tell every single purple and gold wearing person to sacrifice whatever's necessary for the team to succeed, because if we don't make that sacrifice, we're going to lose together and blame you anyway. So that's what I think. That's how chemistry is earned, when guys are willing to make the sacrifices and can look in the mirror and say, damn it, I just can't help my team right now. I want to, but I can do better. On the sidelines, clapping, being a soldier for the squad. You know what I mean? And that's the best way to win sometimes. So, hey, a guy can go out there and play his best, shut me up, and never be taken off the floor again and play great. That's cool. I'm open to that. But until then, We just got to do what's best for the team, man. And it ain't too much to sacrifice for the win, especially if you're a role player. You know what I mean? You should want to. So that's what I would say to Malik. I'm encouraged he'd be willing to make that sacrifice for the Lakers. And I believe in him as a weapon. I do. All of that being said, I believe in him as a weapon. He just needs to be put in the right situations, and I don't know that we can, quite honestly, based on our needs and based on what our other options are. So that's just really what it comes down to, man. I think that kind of conversation can go a long way in helping the team overall. If guys see that guys are willing to make a sacrifice, guys see that other guys have already made those sacrifices unwillingly. You know what I mean? It ain't too much to ask a guy to make a sacrifice after a time where he's been given an opportunity and it just didn't work out. So it's playoff time, baby. We got to, facts over feeling doesn't have to be a phrase. It has to be a practice. It has to be a belief. You know what I mean? A mantra, so to speak, right now. Because if we allow our feelings to step in the way of what our strategy will be, then we're going to allow the other team to be the victor. And they're going to be doing a gritty and all kinds of other crap that they don't deserve to be doing. So that's how I feel about that, man. We already showed everybody tonight that we're a better team than Memphis. Memphis is going to have some players play a lot better than they're prone to. And they're going to have to be able to be in two places at once in a lot of situations defensively in order to beat us. That's really what it comes down to. They're going to have to pick their poison based on some of the size mismatches that we provide when Rui is going to be a threat like this. You know, if he's going to be a threat like this, which I think we always could have used him to be, putting him in size mismatch situations allow him to score on people, as I always say. When you let him be in those type of situations, you turn him into a big-time scoring threat that opens up the floor for all the rest of the scoring threats. So Austin's shots are a bit more open. Bron has more room, you know, to maneuver. Obviously, AD is not getting as much defense if Rui has to be accounted for. And if they want to crowd Rui, if they want to crowd Bron, then obviously we have that option there. So it's a pick your poison kind of thing for the Memphis Grizzlies. And I just don't think without Brandon Clark and Steven Adams that they even have the bodies to really make the adjustments that won't leave something open. That's really what it comes down to. Just like I said in the pregame video, you know, they were going to go to Saldana, and as a result, they were going to be smaller, you know, in some of these lineups. Now, they could go to Lofton, but his inexperience is probably something they don't want to trust in these playoffs. But, you know, going to Santi Saldana is a nice shooting threat if you want to go small. But if you're trying to guard AD, trying to guard the guys that we have, Winion, even though we didn't use him tonight, if you're going to guard those guys, he can't be at your 4 spot. You're going to have to go in a different direction, and I don't know that the Memphis Grizzlies necessarily can. Jaren Jackson was lucky enough to not again get in foul trouble tonight. How many more times is that going to happen? Are we certain he's not going to pick up 2 quick fouls in game 2? And if so, how is that going to affect things when it's only AD facing off against Tillman and Saldana? Like, that is not going to work for the Memphis Grizzlies. So I already see a path for the Lakers to end this series, you know, quickly, because they weren't able to sustain with Jaren not getting in foul trouble. AD still had a fantastic night. And on top of that, if you look at AD's scoring, he only had 22 points. I would argue AD's not going to have too many more games where that was going to be the case. He's probably going to score more than that as the series progresses. So I don't know, man. I think this was one of those games for the Memphis Grizzlies where you feel kind of deflated, especially if Ja's going to go down. You really feel like you've been hit in the gut, not necessarily in the mouth. For those who don't understand the analogy, it's like someone just hit you and it made it so that you're stunned in a very painful way rather than just somebody punching you and you ready to counter. So I think we might have staggered them in a very serious way, even though this was just a game 1. Salute to Kobe Bennett, of course. But, you know, just putting myself in their shoes, I'm a bit staggered. You know, already got to deal with Ja's injury. Good news for Ja. Test results came back negative for a break. That didn't necessarily tell us about ligaments or anything like that, but structural stuff in that hand looks pretty good from what I understand. But they said that, you know, from a 1 to 10, the pain threshold for him, the pain is at a 10, basically. So I don't expect for him to be out there in game 2, although we got, 3 games between game 2. So I think that rest will definitely do some good for him. And hopefully he'll be 100% for game 2. Because as a competitor, at the end of the day, I'll say it again, I don't want him out of this series. I don't. I want him right there. I want him giving us whatever it is he got, and I want to beat him fair and square. I do not necessarily think that it's in the Lakers' best interest to be given a pass at the point guard position in round one when we're going to have to deal with either Steph Curry or Fox in game two. Give us all the Ja Morant. Let us run our practice on Ja Morant and find out ways of stopping him, getting used to chasing these dudes around, because it's not going to get any easier. That's what it comes down to. So I don't want us to have to just get a pass at the point guard position and then De'Aaron Fox and Steph Curry finish us off because we ain't been playing at a high enough difficulty. Hell no. Get back on the floor, Ja. Test us. Go for 40. Do whatever you're going to do and play as good as humanly possible. And let us stop you with that. And then we'll take what we've learned from beating you and carry it on to Fox and Steph or whoever's next. Because that's really what it's about for me. I'm not going to lie to y'all. I have seen too many playoff series over the years where you have a soft first round and then you get knocked out in the second round because the other teams played against a fantastic team, and now you coming in there with your light kind of, we just kind of did a little dance with a lighter team, and now we're ready to face a real juggernaut. No. You want to have did a battle just like the other team had gone through a battle, so that when y'all both see each other, y'all both fine-tuned, y'all both battle-tested and ready, mind is sharp and all that. Because I'm telling you, you get a sleepy first round and then you run into a champion in the second round, that right there keeps you at a disadvantage if your mindset ain't absolutely intent on turning it up a notch to meet that intensity that's coming your way. So these are things the champions pick up along the way. And I consider myself a champion with 6 NBA championship rings as a fan. So as intent as I am on helping the team, these little nuggets I think are important for mindset. You just want to make sure you match the intensity that's coming up against you when the difficulty goes up, and definitely understand that it will. So get back on the floor, Ja Morant, so we don't have so much of a difficulty increase there. And bragging rights, man. I don't believe that we're going to lose this series if he's healthy. You know what I'm saying? So get him back out there and let's prove that. I'm a real competitor in that way. So, yeah, man, I'm super happy with my guys, man. Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura, man, they played great. I didn't give them the game ball. I'm standing firm on the fact that AD just had a better overall game from 1 through 4 quarters. So that's why I gave it to him. And, another thing that I think it's changed about me in regards to how I do this is just looking at the fullness. Obviously, you got to give somebody credit for closing the game out. Austin closed the game out, stretched a ridiculous run. I think 16 straight points, something ridiculous. And you got to give that its proper credit as something that should stand aside, because when he did it and what it meant for wins. So I definitely understand that. He could have very easily gotten the game ball. It's one of those situations where what I try to look at is understanding how much of the fullness of the game was affected by what you did. The 15 points at the end of the game is very, very important, but the 15 points in the first quarter is just as important because it comes together for the full total. It's sort of like I say about free throws. You shoot a technical free throw somewhere in the third quarter and miss it. That matters just as much as any other missed free throw, because there's a point that didn't accumulate to ultimately our full total. And if you lose by 1, that's the point you lost. So for me, I try not to get overzealous about when a person scores the points that they score. Although I want to give it its proper context just the same as to say if a dude does something in the last 3 minutes, it's a lot more intense. Defense is more tight, and that should be given a lot more gold stars than when he does it in the third quarter. But just the same, 15 points is 15 points. However you put it together, it adds. So for me, it's like I didn't want to get overzealous at the fact that he did that in the fourth quarter at the end and look at it as if he did more than Anthony Davis, who did something throughout the fullness, I guess is what you could say, of the game. But I definitely think that a lot of people will give Austin the game ball just because of how he closed out a playoff game. And that is important. And I don't want that to be diminished in this play, in this video, as I give the ball to AD. Also, Rui could very well have deserved it just the same, because he was the one who ultimately gave us some distance between ourselves and the Memphis Grizzlies. And when you consider the one game that the Memphis Grizzlies beat us early in the season, which was the second matchup, Ja Morant went off for a 30-point third quarter. So this is a situation where you look at Rui Hachimura and you say, you answered the call on something that could have been potentially a trend for us, allowing the Memphis Grizzlies to have a good third quarter. You flipped that on its axis and made it so that they had struggles in the third quarter to start the series. And I think that's a very good mental edge to consider when you're talking about trying to take a team's heart. You want them to look at some of the stuff that worked for them in the regular season against you and have them look at it as it's something they just can't do anymore. They have to look at it as if it's something that's an uphill battle that they're not going to be able to reach. Mental edges is everything in these series, man. I'm telling you. You don't have to necessarily prove yourself if a guy believes you to be a certain way. You know what I mean? He just has to think it. And so that's the kind of stuff I like. You consider guys, if a guy's worried about you chasing down a block, he's going to miss the layup, that kind of thing. That carries over. That type of thinking carries into other areas of the game. And you just want to try to have that mental edge at all times. I was listening to who was it that said so? It was Desmond Bain. He was talking about Rui Hachimura. He gave us some bulletin board material talking about Rui Hachimura. That was the best game he ever had. I want to see him do it again on Wednesday. If I'm a Rui Hachimura, I'm scoring 30 on Wednesday just for him. Just for you, I'm going to make sure that I score 30 on Wednesday. That's how I think. But Rui shouldn't try to force shots to make that happen. If anything, the best way to shut Desmond Bain up is to get him out of here in 4 games so he ain't got much to say after that. Send him to Cancun. That's how we beat him. That's how you really shut somebody up. It ain't going to be in game 2. It's going to be in game 4 or whenever you ultimately eliminate them. So that's what I would say. Let's keep our eyes on the bigger picture, and that bigger picture is to get a quick and painless series out of here and get ready for the second round, which I know will be as tough as the first, if not more tough. So, getting ahead of ourselves is a mistake. No matter how you do it, it's possession to possession to possession as far as I can tell. Quarter to quarter to quarter, half to half, game to game, series to series. And we got to understand that those are the progressions of what it is we need to do. But the possession to possession is what ultimately is the level of focus that's going to make you a champion. I promise you that. Everybody else is thinking about game to game, half to half. But if you're considering every possession as your lifeline to your success, then you stop turning the ball over unnecessarily as easily. You stop being comfortable with bad shot selection or allowing your teammates to do things that otherwise throw possessions away. If we have a possession-to-possession mindset, it can make a champion of the Los Angeles Lakers roster this year. So that's why I want us to get away from rotations that don't work or even putting things on the floor for a second that don't work, because that split second is enough in the playoffs to get you to give up that mental edge, to allow a team to start believing in stuff they ain't got no business believing in regards to beating you, and ultimately allowing that mental edge to ultimately put on their colors. So momentum and all of those things in the playoffs is a different story, man. And that's what I'm trying to help everybody understand that I get, This ain't just a one-game situation. You're preparing for the same team over and over and over again. So guys are going to start getting testy. Guys are going to start understanding each other's game better. And the overall dance that is this basketball game between these two teams is just going to become more understood as these series progress. So I'm curious to see what Taylor Jenkins is going to do in terms of his adjustments. That's what I'm curious about. We came out, punched him in the mouth, cool. But is he going to not understand that you can't leave Rui out there? That kind of thing. Is he going to still play off of this guy? I seriously doubt it. So I just expect some rather drastic adjustments from game 1 to game 2 from the Grizzlies side of things. And of course, as we said, LeBron James, he played a real good game, strong game. It's just the unforced turnovers. Some of them turnovers, I saw another one behind the back pass to D'Lo that didn't even get close. It's like those are the things that LeBron James can most definitely limit. Them things don't have to happen, bro. Because at the end of the day, if he wasn't a superstar and we see Troy Brown do that, or we see Austin Reeves do that, or we see anybody else do that, it's going to be Braun in their face telling them to take care of the basketball. So I can understand if somebody come by, steal the ball from you because you dribble a little too high, stuff like that. That's fine. But unforced turnovers where you throw the ball out of bounds trying to be cute, if that's something we won't allow Max Christie to do, it's definitely something we don't allow LeBron James to do. So that's going to be the tale for the team, to hold one another accountable no matter how great your teammate is. At the end of the day, we got to be sharp about what our common goal is, and every possession is the focus. Every possession is the championship for us. So that's what I'm saying, man. Great team win, LA. It's just one game. It's just one game. And we got to appreciate it, keep the balance, celebrate it, love it, know how it is a stepping stone, a building block for you to continue to play at this level. You know what you're capable of, so you know when you struggle not to get too down because you remember how game 1 of the Grizzlies series went. You know, that kind of thing. So that's really what it's about. Just take the confidence that it gives you, take the data that it provides you, and be ready for them adjustments. That's pretty much it, man. I thank everybody for watching BDF 44, and I'm out.